having me today. Welcome to part 3 of 4 of the tile tutorial set, where we'll be covering the creation of a tile set for an isometric game, start to finish. The process in this video is a specific exporting process for a specific part of a specific game. You may not find it terribly useful if you're not here for this game. In this video, I'll be exporting a completed tile set, and in the second half of the video, I will be examining the output of that export process. Let's get started. So the first thing to note is you are going to need a texture packer license. It does cost money, so if you're doing this for work, go get the person who gives you money for things. To start, you need to export all your artwork from Illustrator. Make sure the artboards are named in order from 00 to 29. So if you pull up your artboard tool, you should be able to see the names. So here are my artboards, all appropriately named. Looks good. You also need to make sure that your artboards are all the same size, that, you know, while you're creating the art, they didn't get modified in any way. If things did get a little jumbled and some of your artboards got switched around or resized or renamed, go ahead and just take your finished artwork, open up a new copy of the template and copy it in there before you export. It's really important that everything's consistently sized. What we need to do is export every single one of these artboards at 3 sizes. They're full size, half that size, and then a quarter. Fortunately, there are scripts for that. I'm gonna go ahead and open one up here. Oh, hold on. Before you export, you have to remember to turn off any extraneous layers, so it's just your artwork and nothing else. Okay. Here's the script I want. I'll open that up. Alright. So I'm going to export these as a Futurama asset, a floor tile. I'll name them something appropriate. Spring grass tile. How's that? There's no ticket number for this currently, so I'm going to make a new folder here. Spring grass tile. And export into there. And it says, if it says 30 of 30, you know you've got it well. Alright, now they've all exported. I'll go ahead and check if they've shown up. Here's the file I've been exporting into. And here they all are. Looks good. There's the full size, half size, and quarter size for every single one. Alright, so the next part's a little bit tedious, but you've got to sort out your 4x, 2x, and 1x images into separate folders. Alright, and we are sorted. Looks perfect. Now we're ready to move on to the fun part, packing all these tiles up into a nice tidy texture sheet. Fortunately, there are templates ready for this part of the process. Locate the 3 files named thusly: fut_template_@1xtileexporter.tps, and the same with 2x and 4x. I'm going to have go ahead and copy these into my spring grass tile, and I will rename them to match my files. Alright, now that that's done, let's pop them open. Now we drag the matching tile art into the window for each matching texture packer file. The 4x images go in the 4x pile, the 2x in the 2x, and the 1x in the 1x. So let's try it out. Here's my 4x files. 0 through 29. Drop them in here. Perfect. In each file we've got our 30 tiles, sitting pretty in a tidy little grid. Now you smash that publish button. Find the folder where the rest of your exports are, and publish each of these with an appropriate file name. In the end, you should have a PNG and a PLIST file for each size of your tile set. Alright, we're done. Let's take a look. Here we are. For each of our tile sets, we have a PLIST and a PNG. The PNG is just all the tiles smashed together into one image. And the PLIST is this codey looking thing. Looks right. After you deliver these files to wherever they need to go, you're officially done. Everything that follows this, including the next video, is just for the curious. So if you have time, stick around. Or get out of here, no hard feelings. Oh, so you decided to stay. Are you curious about what magic texture packer just cast on your finished artwork? Because I was when I first tried to work with it. I really wanted to know what a PLIST was. So, if you also want to know, we'll go through a simplified explanation of what texture packer does. It basically just sorts a bunch of images into one sheet. It can have memory advantages or make loading art into an application or game faster. You may be familiar with sprite sheets from some older games. Texture packer outputs this kind of thing. Let's look at an example. Here I've got a bunch of little pixel images of different sizes, a mixture of widths and heights, both 10 and 20 pixels. I slapped them all into texture packer, and this is what I got. I did fuss with some settings to add spacing between the images and to force the texture into a square. Texture packer can pack stuff even more efficiently than this. Let's first look at the image on the left. Notice first that the images in the sheet aren't flush against the edge. This is an option available when packing called border padding. It's also called margin in other software. Now look between the images. This is an option called shape padding or spacing in other software. Our tile sets need to have a little of both of these, although it's possible to pack things without padding. Now let's look to the right. Here, this is the PLIST file. The PLIST file is pretty simple if you can take a closer look. Let's focus in on this chunk of the file, and the green square in the texture sheet here. If you look at the PLIST, you can see everything is pretty clearly labeled, starting with the file name of the green square, here. Notice here, this part of the PLIST is indicating how big the square is, 10 by 10 pixels. And then notice down here. These coordinates are indicating where the green square starts in the texture sheet. It starts 33 pixels in and 23 pixels down. And here the size again repeats how far those pixels go, 10 more to the side and 10 more down. And that defines the box in which the image sits. So, PLISTs are basically just a chunk of information like this for every image that's in the sheet. You can think of it as just a list of coordinates. It's basically just describing where all the images are in the texture sheet. What's the point of knowing this? The tiles we just exported in the previous video are sorted in a very specific way that needs to stay consistent, which is the reason for using templates to export. Let's take a quick look at how they're set up. When you make a new texture packer file, it defaults to certain settings. I'm going to slap some art in one and adjust the settings so you can see what difference they make. Here you can already see this texture sheet looks different than the exported sheets that we got as a result of the last video. First, we need to make sure our advanced settings are up. The data file is just the names of the files that result when you publish this sprite sheet. You can always set it the first time you publish. Look at the layout. The maximum size, 2048 by 2048, that's correct for us. We can only have images that are a power of 2 in size, so we'll select that. And we want to force it to be a square. The algorithm we want to be basic, and we want to sort it by name. Because we named them with numbers, it will sort them correctly every time. We don't want to allow rotation or detect identical sprites. Trim mode is transparency trimming. For us, we need that transparency so that our sprite sheet stays very consistent and grid-like. So we're going to turn it off. Extrusion is adding pixels around the outside of the image. We don't need that, so we'll set it to 0. Border padding and shape padding, those are the ones that I mentioned. We need to set them to 8. You can see the images coming out from the border. And there we go. Now it looks like it did in the template. Let's compare. Perfect. In the next video, we'll be importing this artwork into Tilesets, and you'll see why we need it to be consistent grid. And that's that. Thanks for hanging in there, and I'll see you in the next video.